Now let's come to the next thing on the date function. Now, if you're making note, please make a note of few things for date, which is important when you're working on the dates. The first thing that you should know is know your system date function, which means you need to understand what is the system date, the way it is written. So how do we write dates normally? We can write DDMMYY or MMDDYY. So if you look at here, 517 is easy to understand. Okay, this is my date is MMDDYY at the bottom of the sheet. But what you need to understand is if the date is 152020, let's say this is how the date is. Now, if you rate this date into my system, which understands MMDDYY, for this MMDDYY, this is the month. So for this is January 5. And for a system which reads this as DDMMYY, this is May 1st. So you have to be careful in finding what is your system date. Now, the second thing that you need to understand in this entire thing is in MMDDYY, if I write a date like this, 17/05/2020, I wrote it as in 17th of May 2020, but this will not be read as date inside this MMDDYY format because there is no month which starts at 17. Month stops at 12 only. So this will not be read as date, and all the formulas that you're using, everything will go for toss. So the first thing that you should know is what is exactly the format of your system. Now to check this, we can input the date using the date function. There is a date function which will help me out in inputting the date. So let's see. So we'll go inside, say equal to date. When we are putting it equal to date, it will ask me here year, month, and day. Now I was talking about not putting the reserved words, but one of my function had the reserved word. When I was creating the table, see, this is date and date. That is where you will have trouble. So there was a heading which is known as date. I should have changes to dates or something, which I did not do and created the table. So it has created a date range, which is similar to the date function. So if you accidentally, like the first time I picked this date, so now nothing is opening. So I need to pick this wala date. When you hit, it will ask for year, month, and day. Put any year. Let's say 2020. Month, put anything between 1 to 12. Let's say month is 10th. And let's say day anything more than 12, because if you put less than 12, again the confusion will be there, where is what. So you put like 20 and hit enter. The relative position will tell you the format that your system understands. Currently today though, it will be very easy because we are sitting at 17th, so you can easily identify where the 17 is and you can know the format. If you look at here, this is month, day, and year. So my format is MMDDYY. So this is the first thing. So inputting date can be done using the date function. So date function will help you in inputting the dates. Second thing, the journal formats that we have, DDMMYY and MMDDYY, Excel does not understand any of that. For Excel, if you talk about how Excel reads it, for Excel, there is no date format. These formats are something that we have applied. This is for us, not for Excel. So how does Excel look into these things? For Excel, everything is a serial number. So when I write a date, Excel read this as a serial number, and the starting day for this serial number is 11/1900. So 11/1900 gets a number 1, and from here Excel starts counting to the current date, and it will give you the number of days that have passed from 11/1900 till date. So how do we look at this? Because on the date functions, whenever you are entering something, Excel will not ask you for input the date, it will ask you to enter serial number. So for Excel internally, everything is a serial number. So when you remove the format from a date, you will see a serial number. So I'll show you how to convert them into other things. And this trouble you will have when you are copying this data from the web. If you remember, that is not open. We copied this data from web, this NSE holiday list in the first file. So if I remove the format from here, go to home, and if I remove the formats, as soon as I remove the formats, you will see the numbers only here. There would be no date format. So when you download from web and remove the formats, the date will all become something like this. And that is where you will have trouble. So how can you change it? Open the format box, Control 1. And since we have a number, we can convert into, hit on the date and say, okay, you will get the date format back. And if you want to convert them back into a number, Control 1, hit on number, 0 decimal and say, okay, you will get the number. Now, let's get the today's date and then we'll convert. So how do we get the date today? Control : will give you system date, CTRL plus : this is static, which means when you open tomorrow, the date will remain the same. And remember, Excel has no way of checking whether your system date is correct or not. It automatically picks up the date which is there on the system. Now, if you want a dynamic date which changes every day, so we will use the function today and open and close bracket. If you look at this today, there is nothing inside this bracket, and hit enter. You're getting the same date. Once again, guys, there's someone who is entering in here. Guys, 1 minute. Someone is trying to enter and there's something which is hindering. Just 1 minute. Sorry, I was trying to put someone in and it was not working. So let's come back to this. So we were at dynamic date. What is the difference between these two dates? The dynamic date is something that will change tomorrow. So when you open this file tomorrow, as soon as the date system date changes, and if your file is open, this date will change. And this is not going to change. This will remain static. So these dates have their own importance when you are working in a project. The project start date or something like valuation start date, you put that static date. And when you are talking to find something into real time, we can have the dynamic date running. So these two things, apart from that, you can have a function known as now. What does now do? It has dynamic date and time. So it will give you date and time, both of them, but time, this is dynamic. So let's wait for till the time when we are doing it. Just refresh the sheet and you will F9 and you'll see this time will change. So this is based on now. And remember, when we're talking about function, we talked about few functions which do not have arguments. So these are the two functions who do not have arguments running inside. Now, before we move ahead into this, someone else is trying to come in. You can have this static and dynamic days. I'll go to network days to find the project thing. But now, if you have to put date into some format, so let's get today's date, control colon, hit this. So what if we write something like, you write a date, go to the custom. How do I open this custom? Control 1. What if you want to write this date in some other format? You can have lot of formats which are running here. Go to this custom button at the bottom of the page, and you will see in the type, this is custom here. So I wrote the date, write the date, and then go into the custom, or else you have to find out this DDMMYY from the custom drop down. So you have lot of things running in here. Now let's try and increase the M. When you have 3M, you will get month small, matlab, the month form. Currently it is May, so there are only 3 letters. Let's change it to December. I'll make it 12. Control 1 and go to custom, and let's try and increase the M. So this is the short name for the month. You make it 4M, it will complete December. You do not want this 17 to come, so you remove the 17, hit the delete. Now you do not want this slash, you want a dash, put a dash. And if you do not want this entire year, remove the 2. So instead of this 1712, you will have December 20, short date. And if you remove one more from here, you will get a smaller date, dec 20. When you are writing the complete date, the date will come in the shorter format. So sometimes when you get a file and you're writing a date, it always comes in a short form. So if you want to get the entire form again, you can enter the date. See, when I'm entering 2 dates, it is giving me day. When I'm entering 3 days, it is giving me the day in the short. Enter 4, you will get the day complete name. So this is how you can work around on the day. So let's write it up. 3 M's, 3 D's, 3 Y's. Why? So it will only give you zeros and things. So 3 M's will give you short month, 4M will give you complete month, 3 days will give you short day, 4 D's will give you complete day, Thursday. So it will December Thursday 20. So depending upon what you need, you do not want this deck to happen, so remove MMM. But what you need to remember is this D can be only added in between M and Y, because my format is MMDDYY. If your format is DDMMYY, then when you are adding back D, you should add in the beginning only. So that is where I've asked you to write the date and then enter into this. So if you remove these two, it'll come to short, remove this and add two YYs. We'll go back to how we started. So, so this is how we can just work around on the date side. You require a lot of short dates, long dates. So whatever your requirement is, you can, if you're making note, you can write this triple M, 4M. So this is short month, long month. DD will give you 17. DDD will give you short day name. Chardy will give you day name. So that is how you can format your system on the date side. Now extraction. How do we take a day, month, and year out of a given date? Functions are very simple. As the name is written, they are same. Day, month, and year equal to YAR. The functions are very simple, day, month, and year, and you can just fill them up. You can extract the day, month, and year from a date by using day, month, and year. Now, if I have not written the date properly, for example, I wrote it 10. Let's say I was writing here. Instead of writing that like this, I wrote it ulta, 20, 10, 2020. Now, if I try and use a day function here, It will not work. Now, when I'm using a day, see, it is saying serial number. If you look at the bracket, it is not saying input date. So when I try and input this date, this is not going to work. Why? Because the month, it is reading as month, and my month is 20. So you don't have a 20th month in a year. What you only have is till 12. So this will give me value error. So we should not be utilizing. We should be careful while we are putting the